All right, if everybody could do me a favor, I'll start in just a minute. But before I do, I promised my mom I'd get video of the reaction. So if you guys could just cheer like that was really great. She doesn't need to know this before. Perfect. And one for my therapist. Can you just boo? That was terrible. All right, now everybody shut up. This should feel loose. This should feel, I mean, this last talk, last day. Some of you might be half asleep. That's all right. Don't snore, please. Got a fancy clicker and everything. This is great. That's the hashtag if you want to hashtag things. If you're on the Instagrams or the Twitters or app.net. If that's still a thing. I'm Dave Wiskus. I am an interaction designer. As mentioned, I work on an app called Vesper with my friends John Gruber and Brent Simmons. Yes, there will eventually be a Mac version, I swear. So interactions, I make software like you guys do, but I kind of draw pictures, but mostly I just kind of wave my hands around a lot and sound opinionated. I don't write code. This is not a code talk. If you wanted code, I'm sorry, you should probably be in a different room. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Aces. The other thing I do is I'm a YouTube sensation. Really popular on the YouTube. I make videos. I got a channel called Better Elevation. I have a dog. She's pretty cute. That's the right answer. Aww. So let's talk about design stuff. Designy things. The last 100 years or so have brought us a very, very long way. We started by inventing the phone and the car, and now we can use our phone to get a car, which is pretty cool. In technology, it's empowered us to change not just the toys and the gadgets, but like everything. Everything we do, everything we touch, it's the objects we produce, every shape and size have been changed by this kind of technology. There's roughly 7 billion people on this thing right now. And so all of that stuff, all of those experiences, all that software, all that hardware, who is it for? Us. Kind of. Let's talk about showers. This is a shower I used recently. The picture might be a little hard to see, but that's roughly as understandable as it was in real life. That's okay. Let me make it easier for you. Let me call some stuff out. These are dials of some sort, I gathered. But then these other things, these are dials too, I guess. And then there's also this sort of like pull turn thing you see in showers, but then there's a magic wand. I'm not really sure what that is. And it's all a bit overwhelming. I mean, based on what I see, I figured the lever, you like maybe pull it and you turn it for hot cold, because you see that sometimes. So I pull on the thing and nothing happens. And I think, okay, well that's not it. Then I start looking at these 3 dials and these other things, and I poke at them and I push them, I pull them, I'm turning them. And of those, the 3 in the middle, I turn the top one and water sprays me right in the face. Because it turns out those things on the side, those 6 on the side were water jets, those weren't dials at all. I'm like, well shit, that was cold. So I turn the second dial, and that magic wand, turns out that's also like a spray hose right in the face. Cold water. So I adjust to warm water at the very least, and I go for that third dial, and then the water starts raining down on me from above, because it turns out there's another thing, not pictured, above you, which is the shower head. I say the shower head like there's only one. Maybe we should color code this. This will be easier. You guys understand this, right? This all makes sense. Does it make it any less complex? Well, the funny thing is, like, it's a system that's designed for people who already know how to use it. If this is your shower, maybe that's exactly the level of control you want. Maybe that's exactly the kind of experience you want. You sometimes want water raining down on you. Sometimes you want 6 spray nozzles shooting you with cold water all over your body. Sometimes you want a magic shower wand. But it's a system that it's optimized for people who already understand it. Kind of like in my home, New York, it's kind of like our subway system. If you already know how to use it, it makes perfect sense. If you're showing up and this is your first day, it's not going to make any sense at all. And you're going to get lost and you're going to end up in Queens, and nobody wants that. And here's another shower. This is the last shower, I swear. At least it had instructions printed on it. That's pretty cool. By the way, the moment you make the concession of printing instructions on a shower head, just admit that you fucked up. Turn for shower or bath. Come on. In fairness, it was in a hotel, which actually, you know what? Not in fairness, because that makes it worse. You know that people are going to be coming in there confused. Make a better shower. So all this stuff is kind of like, we tend to think of interaction as objects interacting with each other, or humans interacting with each other, or like humans interacting with objects. We don't really think about it in terms of humans interacting with other humans indirectly. But human interaction can be indirect. This, me on stage right now, is an indirect interaction. I made this presentation already. I know what I'm going to say, ish. It's something that you're all experiencing, but it's not like we're sitting down one-on-one and we're having a conversation. It's a different sort of thing. Not that far off from when you make an app and people are using that app later and their fingers touch the glass. They are experiencing the decisions that you made at some point in time before that. It's an indirect interaction. Product design, even digital products, are still interaction. So what is design? God, you're going to get 1,000 different answers if you ask 1,000 different people. Let's some misconceptions about design. Let's get some things out of the way. Some people think that design is how it looks. Those people love dribble. Steve Jobs said that design is how it feels, and that's mostly true, but it only really describes the receiving end. Design, really, it's about intent. What did you mean when you made this thing? Who was it for? What were your thoughts? What did you think was going to happen? That's design. And everyone's a designer. Some of us are good at it and some of us not so much, but everyone, when we make something, by definition, we have designed it. We have made this thing happen. All of these things, all of this technology, all of the new cars and the Uber and these apps where you touch one button and a pizza shows up. Who is this stuff for? All these fancy gadgets. Well, it's for us. And by us, I mean able-bodied, straight, white males with money. Everyone else is kind of an afterthought. Even the emoji are mostly white people. So think of design as telling a story or writing a letter or recording a podcast. We all work in the tech industry. I'm going to assume that you all have podcasts. You're not going to be there to see the look on somebody's face when you're talking. You're not going to get to see their body language. So you kind of have to use your own experiences and your own knowledge, your own intuition, your familiarity with your audience to make certain assumptions about how they're going to react, how they're going to interpret what you're saying, how they're going to feel about the ideas you're projecting. You have to try to see the world through their eyes, and it's a small thing. And it happens more real time in a conversation, but in a one-way conversation, an asynchronous conversation, you're still doing the same things, and I would say more so. You have to try to see the world through their eyes, or maybe let them see the world through your eyes. There's a nonprofit, this is an app/service called Be My Eyes, and it's that simple. Blind people can download it. Apple's baked some really great accessibility features into iOS. And the blind people can open up the app and sign up for the service and do the whole thing. And they can ask questions. They can take a picture with their camera and ask questions. What is this? What color is this? Things that they have no way of knowing and the technology isn't there yet to tell them. And somebody on the other end, a volunteer, a sighted person who's running the same app, will get that question and can answer it for them. I mean, how hard would it be for you to look at a picture and say, oh, that door is red. Hey, that's the men's room. Maybe don't go in there if you're not supposed to be in there. And it's a non-profit service. The people who made this, they did it because they just felt it was the right thing to do. Here was a need that hadn't been met, and somebody should do that. At Apple, it was mostly, according to legend, Scott Forstall pushing for accessibility features in iOS. And the other mobile platforms have lagged behind a little bit in this regard, but Apple has been right on the forefront, doing this not because there's good money in it. There's not. There's no real economic advantage to making your phones, your devices highly accessible, but it's the right thing to do. And there's a funny thing that happens where you get very famous blind people saying nice things about your products because they're just a little bit more human. And they're a little bit more human because they allow people with disabilities, people who aren't always the most enfranchised groups of people, feel a little bit more human. Connect with other humans just a little bit more. Technology can be empowering. It should be empowering. This is the best possible use of this stuff. All of these gadgets, all this technology, all this code, all the money that Silicon Valley throws into stupid shit, it should be there. The point of all of this experimentation, all of this thought should be to make life better for people like Stevie Wonder, for blind people everywhere, for deaf people everywhere, for people who don't have all the same advantages that I might have, that we might have. Technology should make all that stuff better. It should allow us to connect better to one another. You look at the steam train made the world a little bit smaller. Automobiles made the world a little bit smaller. Air travel has made the world a lot smaller. The internet should be making the world tiny. Technology, as it advances, should make the world feel smaller and smaller. It should be easier and easier to connect with other people. And that should be what inspires us, the human connections. Wheelchair ramps are clunky and cumbersome. And I'm really happy that I don't need to worry about this personally because they're awful. They don't inspire confidence. Loaded question. Who here uses a wheelchair? Exactly nobody. I already knew the answer to that, not because I looked around the room, but because there's no way to get into this room with a wheelchair. If you don't have use of your legs, you're sitting outside. And that's not the fault of the organizers. They really did try. The trouble was that the steps, they're too steep. You can't put a ramp on top of that and have it be safe. This building wasn't made for disabled people. And that's crazy because it's not like disabilities are a new thing. How old is this building? 50 years? 100 years? Disabled people, it's a new thing, apparently. But why shouldn't we make buildings thinking about the people who are going to enter them? Why shouldn't we make our software thinking about the people who are going to use it? And it's not just disabled, it's everybody. It's anybody who isn't an able-bodied, straight, white male with money. It's women, 50% of the planet, or slightly more. HP wanted to make a laptop for women. So they put a pink flower and some butterflies on it. Otherwise, it's the same laptop. Nothing to account for how women might use this differently, nothing ergonomic, nothing thoughtful about maybe psychological differences between, nope, butterflies and flowers. Here you go, sweetie. And look, it comes with a mouse, how cute. This is what happens when you take the needs and considerations of 50% of the world's population and reduce them to fashion. This is how a group of people who were getting paid money to do this job saw this group of people. And it's not a small group of people. And it's not just women either, kids. But the funny thing about kids is that there is an industry of design for children because there's money in it. These guys know. Lego knows. There's very little profit in designing for the disabled or trans people, but even when we design for children, we're still doing it according to our own worldview. When Lego wanted to make Lego for girls and start selling more products to girls, this is what they did. This is what they came up with. This was, I forget what it's called, something like Mom and Baby and it was the first one, upper left-hand corner of the Lego website. Under the for girls section, this is what they put up there. This is the front of mind for Lego of what girls should be playing with. I'm going to read a little passage, a paragraph from Lego's website. With Lego toys for girls, your little one can build exciting creations with Lego pink brick buckets, develop her own friends' adventures, or simply discover her passion for play as she gains dexterity and problem-solving skills. Here you go, sweetie. It's so condescending. No wonder This is where we end up with laptops for women because we have no idea. This is where we're starting girls out. No wonder there's no women in tech. We're doing nothing to encourage people to join us. Although somebody did figure out what the real answer for Lego should be. Take those scientists and those archaeologists and those astronauts, those heroes, put a goddamn ponytail on there. There's no excuse not to. Product design is an asynchronous conversation. Most art is a series of thoughts and opinions expressed as human interaction. It might be there to start a conversation, but generally it's still a broadcast medium. Interactive products need to account for feedback after leaving their creator's hands. Software is humans using technology to interact. And developers, we might only see the computer screens, and users might only see their phones. But any way you slice it, there's still another human being on the other side of the glass. All of this stuff is poetry. All of this stuff is communication. And we do weird things. We judge people. And by we, I really mean like us, the tech people, the tech elite, people who know stuff about computers, the people who get asked by their family and friends at holidays to fix their email. We have a weird view of the world and the way technology sits in it. What's wrong with taking a picture with your iPad? Why is this a joke? For all we know, this guy just really likes his iPad, and he likes taking it with him, and it's got a great camera. He just enjoys it. Maybe he doesn't want to carry a smartphone. Maybe the people who do this on vacations because that was the best device they could afford. And let's be honest, an iPad is a pretty great device. It's not like they're buying a piece of crap and carrying that around and disgracing their family with bad technology. I mean, shit, Apple put a camera in that thing. Why are we so surprised that people are enjoying using it? What's wrong with selfie sticks? Some people don't want other people holding their phone when they take their vacation photos. A friend of mine tells a story about he was at I think a baseball game, and he sees a couple sitting by a fence area overlooking where they play the sports, and they've got they're doing the selfie thing like this, arm outstretched, and my friend Adam he goes over and he says, "Hey, let me take your picture for you," thinking that their response is going to be, "Oh, great, thank you so much. We could really use some help right here. We can't quite get it." Instead, it was like, "Yeah, sure, okay." And he felt really weird. He takes the picture and he gives the camera phone back, and he walks away feeling kind of awkward about the whole situation. And he said it didn't occur to him until later. They didn't need his help. That selfie was an intimate moment that he interrupted. There was value to them in the only participants in that photo being them. And we miss stuff like that. We miss these clues, these cues. We tell people not to use iPads to take pictures because they look stupid. We call people stupid for taking selfies in the mirror or using selfie sticks. Who are we to say? Why do we have to be the smartest people in the room? Why do we, the tech elite, get to tell other people how they should be using technology? It's cynical. And in most cases, we're in kind of an abusive relationship, and we're the abusers. We're making things for people and then yelling at them when they do things that we didn't think of. We're yelling at them for using their imaginations. So what is the future of technology? If it's selfie sticks and iPads, now what else are we missing? What else could be happening that we're not forecasting? Google Glass probably isn't it. Microsoft HoloLens, maybe. Microsoft Kinect, maybe. Apple Watch, maybe. The thing is, we're having a hard time projecting this stuff because we're still seeing the world through the lens of what we think technology should be. Meanwhile, people, regular people, normal people, are out there just using this stuff in whatever way strikes them as being best. We can market. We can give them ideas. Apple can make ads about FaceTime and get people to tear up at the view of a father on a business trip getting to talk to his son thousands of miles away. That's powerful stuff. But we don't get to tell people how to use it. We don't get to direct them. It's not our job. We should be listening. This should be a conversation. This should be a two-way street, even if it is an asynchronous conversation. The future of technology most likely is some combination of all this stuff. Maybe it is wearable computers. It's not going to be Google Glass because that thing, it's alienating. It's technology on your face. At its best, technology kind of disappears. Why I would put my money on the Apple Watch over Google Glass isn't just because of the marketing power of one company versus another. It's because a device that's here, and I can glance at it when I want to, and it shows me the information I need, versus something that's sitting here on my glasses reminding you with every moment of eye contact that I might be recording you, reminding you that there's technology present. That's probably not the future. Doing a designy sort of talk, I figured I should show some examples of things that I really like. Let me show the work or highlight a designer that I find particularly skilled, one of my favorite designers. And so I decided, I know exactly who I'm going to pick. I'm going to showcase my favorite designer, my dog. Her name is Pixel. Nobody I know gets human interaction better than my dog does. She's the life of any party. She's never met a human she doesn't like, especially babies, because they're like tiny people coated in food. And she's got a lot of jobs. She does a bunch of stuff. She's a roadie. She's my office manager. She's my travel assistant. Sometimes she's a mall Santa during the holidays. She's academic. She's super smart, and dogs are like little empathy machines. You give them food and attention, they're going to hang on every word. And they do human interaction better than anybody does. And it makes sense. I mean, we've been training them to do exactly this sort of thing for 10,000 years. It's in their nature to want to make us happy. Dogs are a truly adaptive interface. They are designed designers. We have designed them to treat us the way we want to be treated by them. And it's still happening. It's all this selective breeding, and we train them, and they've developed a real attachment to them, and they've developed an attachment to us, and we have an attachment to them, and it's sort of this cyclical thing, and it's a good model for how we should be thinking about each other. We should be helping each other to understand how stuff works. We should be helping each other to understand where we fit into the conversation, where they fit into the conversation. When we create software or a new hardware device, our job isn't to write a manual and then get pissed off when people don't read it. Our job is to help them understand what the benefit is, why they're using this thing to begin with, what problem are we solving. As Joe pointed out in his talk today, the question you should be asking is, why? Like, is this worth making? What problem am I solving? Designers, when we're confronted with somebody else's work, as Pixel is here, she's a harsh critic. We tend to complain. And when I say designer, I'm referring to everybody in this room. I don't mean people who use Photoshop versus people who write code. Everybody here is a designer. I don't mean that in sort of a grand platitude sort of way. We all make shit. At some level, we're all responsible for something that goes out the door. And when we're confronted with somebody else's work, we tend to complain, like as a matter of course. We're entitled to do it. That's our job, right? To pick out the shittiest things about anything and complain about them. Bitch, bitch, bitch. That's all we do. I certainly do it. But being picky, being a jerk about somebody else's work, that's a parlor trick. It's easy to do, but really the job is to add value. And what is the value we're adding? And if we don't add value, then at least, find some things worth stealing and move on. It's funny, I do a number of conferences every year. I've tried to scale back a little bit because I felt like I was talking too much. And now I have the YouTube show where I wave my hands and I talk about design stuff. This is not the easiest thing in the world for me to do. Getting up on a stage in front of a group of people and talking about things, sharing stories, sometimes really embarrassing personal stories, not the easiest thing in the world for me to do. And it's easy to miss that. It's that thing of you're seeing somebody else's highlight reel and you're seeing your own outtakes. Forget exactly what the quote was there. But it's that kind of thing. You're seeing yourself through a different lens and you're seeing other people. And when you see somebody on a stage, it's easy to imagine yourself being nervous, like I could never do that. I could never be in front of, I could never socialize in this way. For me, I dropped out of high school because I couldn't handle talking to people. There was a period in my life where I couldn't take the trash out during the day because I was afraid people would see me. And at the time, the thought of getting up in a room like this and talking to this many people would have scared the hell out of me. It still scares the hell out of me. I hit a point, though, where I realized that there was something missing. I'd spent, so many of my teenage years in front of a computer, playing Doom and chatting on IRC. I could handle strangers via text from 2,000 miles away, but going out, talking to a girl, that's not going to happen. Or even going to a meetup, going to a coffee shop and just having a polite exchange with somebody, it all terrified me. And I realized that I wanted that. I wanted those things. I wanted to interact with other people. The thing that I really wanted more than anything when I was a kid, 16, 17, I wanted to play music in front of people. I wanted to write songs, I wanted to get up, I wanted to play guitar, I wanted to sing. And if I couldn't handle the interaction of meeting somebody at a party, God, me in high school, the 2 parties I ever went to, I sat in the corner with this sullen look on my face because I froze. I didn't know what to do. And I knew that if that's what life was like for me, there was no way I was going to be able to get up and play music. And not just that, what would I write about? What experience do I have? What lessons do I have to pass on? What experience do I have? And I made the decision, I got to do something about this. I've got to get my shit together. And I sort of went through this period of forcing myself to do things that were uncomfortable for me. Going to bars and saying hello to a stranger. Going to the coffee shop and making a conversation out of thin air with the person next to me. And the more I did this, the more I found not only wasn't it as scary as I thought it was going to be, I actually really liked other people. And I liked the influence I could have on other people with those little, what would have been scary, meaningless conversations for me. I could brighten somebody's day. A smile and maybe, trying to be a little bit charming to the barista who's been having a shitty day can really turn somebody's day around. It was that realization. It was like, wow, I got to keep this up. I got to keep doing this. And it's never gotten easy. It's still scary. But the thought that I could have any kind of impact on other people was fantastic. And it kind of led me to this place of, I've been playing with computers, and I kept thinking that playing with computers would be my job. I thought that I'd maybe write software or draw pictures or, God forbid, do tech support for the rest of my life. 5 years in a call center, that's a whole other talk. But it started to occur to me that maybe what I really wanted to do was recognize that computers are really hard to use. Computers suck. I don't know how we put up with this shit for so long. And people go out and buy books on how to use their computer. Books with titles like For Dummies, A Complete Idiot's Guide. All this stuff is kind of made to make people feel stupid. It does make people feel stupid. People are afraid of computers, and they shouldn't be. And I thought, well, if I like people and I like computers, if I'm learning to speak people and I'm learning to speak computers, maybe there's a middle point here. I can find myself a niche and help to make this stuff suck less. And someday that'll happen. So I'm still learning. I feel like my social skills kind of developed later in life than a lot of people. So there's moments where I feel like I'm like an alien or a robot learning how people work. I'll watch people socially, and I try to put on an air of knowing what I'm doing. But in reality, I'm just like, so that's what you're supposed to do when somebody says something like that. You're supposed to nod politely. All right. Noted. But all the best things I've ever made were for other people. The best songs I've ever recorded were things that I wanted other people to hear. The best apps I've ever worked on were things that I was really excited about the person on the other side of the phone who was going to get to use it later. Or on the other side of their Mac who was going to get to use it later. The videos that I make for my show, podcasts I've produced. I get excited about the people who are going to hear these things, see these things, because I want to have some kind of impact. I want to brighten their day up a little bit. The nice thing about a broadcast medium is that you can broadcast 1,000, you can improve 1,000 people's day all at the same time. That's a way of connecting. And it makes this kind of connection, being in a room like this, being out there and shaking hands and saying hi later, it makes this stuff possible, it makes it easier because I already care. I couldn't design interactions for people if I didn't like interacting with people. How do you hone your intuition? How do you develop that skill? You listen and you practice. But your most valuable tool as a designer is empathy. I used to think that my ability to see the flaws in everything would make me a good designer. Now I think that the opposite is true. It's my ability to see the beauty in everything that will help me to create. And it's easy to be cynical with work like this. It's easy to be cynical when you're on the receiving end of people who don't understand the things you make. When you're sitting in a call center and people are calling you, yelling at you with, frankly, really stupid questions. It's easy to say that they're stupid questions. But it's cynical. We made these things. When we're answering our support email, when we're meeting people at a conference and talking about our products, that's part of the conversation. We just put it off. And when it does happen, we reject it. Irony, apathy, cynicism, these are gateway drugs. This is me at this conference last year, chatting with my robot friend. That robot also introduced me on stage, which was pretty great. And a little bit awkward. We haven't talked since. Technology isn't becoming more popular because computers have gotten faster. Technology it's not becoming more popular because computers have gotten cheaper. It's becoming more popular because it's become more human. Things like Microsoft HoloLens, it's about projecting data onto things we can already understand. The Apple Watch is about showing us things in sort of a non-intrusive manner. How can we avoid taking our phone out in the middle of dinner again? You can just glance at your wrist, get it out of the way. Because the reality is that we do live in an age of complexity. And we are going to want to see the mixer. We are going to want to see notifications as they come in. We're going to want to maintain some kind of lifeline. How can we do that? Not reject it and cast people out as pariahs for checking their phone, but how can we make it to where you can do that without affecting the conversation, without breaking the flow? Let's keep the humanity in this. Do those things you want to do, but keep it human. We still have a long way to go, but the things that were only usable to an elite few 20 years ago are now in all of our pockets, and they have high-speed internet connections. Let's do cool stuff with them, and let's help other people do the same thing. I'm not a fan of traditional Q&A because I think it's weird, especially after talking about the importance of human interaction, to stand up here and have weird non-versations with people. I would rather, I'm going to be out here, come up, talk to me, let's have a real conversation, let's get into some stuff. We're going to go do the other thing, and I'll be around after that. Please don't be a stranger. Come up, say hello. I don't bite. There's no joke, I really don't bite. Yeah, let's make it a conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.